Hey everybody, it's Michelle.
And Brandy.
And this is Spooky Shit. Alright, so this week we are going to be talking about missing trans women who were found dead. I have 3 stories, and I'm going to be saying 2 of mine first. I'm going to talk about Elisha Walker and Schuler.
And then I'm going to talk about Gwen, Amber Rose, Araujo.
And for my final story, I'm going to talk about Nikki Kuhnhausen.
Warning. This episode may contain graphic details. Listener discretion is advised.
I should have looked up how to say her name. Regret.
Yeah, I looked up how to say her last name too.
Your person?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I've heard that. I've like seen that name because she's Latina. Like it's fairly common, but I never actually knew how to pronounce it. So I was looking it up right now.
Yeah, it's like one of the things that you just say in your head and you're like, easy. Then you have to say it loud and you're like, I don't know.
And you're like, yeah, you're like, if I wouldn't have looked it up, I would have totally butchered it. Butchered it?
No. I was just gonna pretend I didn't hear it. Butchered it.
Butchered it.
Alright. Elisha Walker was a 20-year-old black trans woman who was murdered in 2014. She was born in Portsmouth, Virginia on September 26, 1994 to mother Rhonda Alexander and father Travis Walker Sr. Her mom was a nurse and her dad worked as a minister at a church in Chesapeake, Virginia. Along with her siblings, she was raised in a military family, which resulted in them sometimes living in North Carolina as well as Virginia. Elisha was a member of Love Christian Center in East Spencer, North Carolina, and she was described as a joyful and a kind spirit who never bothered anyone and always kept a smile on her face. Her favorite cousin said she was the life of the party and that she always had jokes. Elisha had dreams of becoming famous, either through a career in music or film. Elisha graduated high school a semester early and began to come out and express herself as a trans woman, a part of herself she seemingly hadn't shared with her family before. She started to dress in women's clothing and wore hair extensions, which caused some tension with her mom. In a later interview, her mom Rhonda said, "I told Elisha that she could not wear women's clothes so long as she lived in my home. One day Elisha came home with a bandana over her face, and when I pulled it off, she had these long eyelashes on. She told me I'm a girl." Unfortunately, the entire quote I just said, the mom was using he, him pronouns, so I adjusted as needed because I know she was trans. I did think it was interesting, though, because while she did say, like, he, him, and I guess would refer to her as her son still, she did call her Elisha. So, it's the little things, I guess.
I actually almost did Elisha Walker as well.
Really?
And I found the obituary where they still called her by the wrong pronouns.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure in the obituary they call her Elisha, but then say like he, him throughout the entire thing, which I thought was so interesting. And I was looking up the mom like to see other interviews, and I mean, unless this is someone with the same name, I'm pretty sure that Elisha's mom actually passed away last year too. And in her and in the mom's obituary it said like she was preceded in death by her son, and then they dead named Elisha in that one. It was weird. It was very odd, honestly, because it seemed like she at least called her by her name, so it's weird that she didn't switch pronouns too. But anyway, as a result of this confrontation, Elisha went to live with her sister, where she was free to be who she really was, and she started to save up money to buy her own apartment. Not buy, to rent her own apartment. I'm like, let's be clear here. No one is 20 and buying an apartment. During this time, she spent most of her days doing her mom's friends and coworkers' hair at a salon in Salisbury, North Carolina. After a couple of months looking around, Elisha was finally able to find her own apartment, with a move-in date of November 1st, 2014. But when this date arrived, she was a no-show. On top of this, Elisha had always kept in close contact with her family by text, phone calls, or posts on social media, so when they hadn't heard from her and she seemingly missed her move-in date, they began to fear for the worst. Her family reported her as missing a week after the move-in date. On November 11th, police released details of Elisha's disappearance to the media in hopes of generating leads. While initially they weren't receiving many, this changed on November 22nd when Elisha's car was discovered over 100 miles away, burnt in an open field in Sampson County, North Carolina, with no signs of Elisha in it. Over the next year, investigators developed several leads based on people who knew Elisha and gathered evidence from her car. They also discovered that while Elisha lived on Celebration Drive, she spent a lot of her free time at a home on Hemlock Drive. In this home lived 23-year-old Angel De Jesus Arias, a Latin King gang member, who soon became a suspect in Elisha's disappearance. According to one article I read, Angel and Elisha had been in a relationship for several months before Elisha went missing. It was reported that Angel had tried to end things, even though Elisha was insistent on making things work. After her disappearance, Angel continued to live on Hemlock Drive, but also began to frequent Smithfield, which was in Johnston County, just north of the county where the burnt-up car had been found. So during the course of the investigation, detectives actually had to work across 3 different counties: Rowan, where Elisha lived, Johnston, and Sampson. So it actually made it very confusing reading about it, because they just kept switching between like where everything was happening.
Damn.
I'm sure it was very hard to investigate like that. In February 2015, Angel made the move from his Hemlock Drive home to Johnston County. In July of that year, detectives in Rowan County used cadaver dogs to go and investigate the home that Angel had been living in on Hemlock Drive, but did not find any signs of Elisha there. They soon found out that he was being held in Johnston County in unrelated drug charges, so they continued their search in this different county. After getting a tip about a home nearby him outside of Smithfield, they were able to find Elisha's remains buried in a small depression behind the house. Angel was arrested and charged with killing Elisha and stealing her car, and it's theorized by investigators that he killed her to hide their relationship. He was not charged with hate crime charges because, according to this one article at least, North Carolina does not have a state hate crime statute. Which I was going to look more into that and I forgot, because that's just insane. Like, I don't understand.
I feel like a lot of places still don't.
Yeah. Or they're like just catching up and like only just made it for people who are racist. I'm like, all right, now you guys gotta have for like LGBTQ people too. And they're like, what?
What?
We're only just catching up. Autopsy reports on Elisha showed signs of asphyxiation, blunt force injuries to the head, and stab wounds. Angel eventually admitted to her assault and murder, saying that he had killed her while still in his Hemlock Drive home. He was offered a plea deal and took it. In exchange, he was given the lesser offense of second-degree murder, and the charge of him stealing Elisha's car was dropped. He was only sentenced to 19 to 24 years in prison. Elisha's mom spoke to Angel at a hearing, saying, "I don't hate you. I just want you to know that this plea they gave you is nothing. I'm not the judge. This is just an earthly judge, but you have a spiritual judge that you will be judged for, and I just wanted you to know that. I will never hate you. God allows everything to happen." Elisha's sister Portia spoke after the hearing, saying that while Elisha may have died for nothing, her name would live on forever in their town and other places around the world. She said how the murder had been hard on her family, but the court hearing had provided them healing and that they were now in a better place. She also said that the entire situation opened her and her family's eyes to the fact that people need to love one another while they still can. And again, I believe her sister was misgendering her, but still saying Elisha. So, I don't know. They must have had like a deal or something.
Yeah, it sounds like they like accepted her, but at the same time
didn't understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, again, while still referring to Elisha as her son, and by he, him, Rhonda regrets telling Elisha to move out of her home, and later said, "If I knew my time with Elisha would end on October 23rd, I would have had Elisha with me. I wish I hadn't asked her to leave home." So she does, like kind of what I've been saying, she acknowledges her daughter's gender by using the name Elisha, and she also actually once said Elisha was transgender and was pretty. "I never knew anything about that when I was coming up, though. And I'm going to embrace who Elisha was. If it takes telling the world about what happened to help people, I will do it, because no family should have to go through this." So I think they just didn't understand what was correct, really, to say.
I think so.
Yeah. And at least a little bit of the time, she was like trying to kick her out and stuff for it. But as well as Elisha's family, they at least they kind of have a good excuse. It was like their family member. The investigating sheriff department, though, also misgendered Elisha multiple times, despite it being well known that she is a trans woman. Like reading articles saying a gay man found in women's clothing. And I'm like, that's not what happened. No. It's ridiculous.
I feel like that's a huge issue with like my story too. They just, I don't know.
It's so frustrating.
I feel like they don't know how to handle it.
Yeah.
Correctly.
Which is weird. You really just have to write like Elisha, comma, a trans woman. That's all you have to write.
Yeah, I don't know. It's frustrating.
It is extremely frustrating. And for my second story, I also mentioned a little bit of that again. So keep that feeling of frustration. So my second story, I'm going to be talking about Shade Schuler. I was looking all around, but was not able to find like any information on Shade or what she was like. What I do know, though, is that she was a Black trans woman and in 2015 was just 22 years old and living in Dallas, Texas. She also was known to sometimes work as a sex worker. That is all I could find on her. Like what did she even, what she like to do? Did she have like friends? Like, what's up? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I feel like that just kind of goes back because I know most of, like, it's just not accepted. People don't understand it. They don't respect it. And I feel like for some of these women, there's like nothing on them because like they're probably like shunned from home. So they probably didn't really have friends or family type thing.
That's so depressing. Yeah.
It is, because then like police don't take it serious like when they're missing or nothing. You know what I mean? Like that's on the low. Because
no one's like pushing them to
priority.
Be like, you need to find
this. Exactly.
That's so fucked up. They're just
and
like, well, no one's bothering us. That's really
so sad.
I know. She was like, because she was a Black trans woman, which we already know, get murdered at higher rates, and seemingly like their killers go free more often. It seems like they're not found. And she was a sex worker too, which I feel like also there's like a stigma there where they're like, oh, people don't care about them and stuff. And I'm like, it's a double whammy.
Yeah,
really shitty. But yeah.
Yeah, actually, for this year, 2021, I was on the Human Rights Campaign website. Okay. Where I had shared it with you. Yeah. And I actually did the math. Because so far there's been 28 like murders against transgender and gender nonconforming.
And if I remember correctly, that was like the beginning of May or something, right? Or the end of May?
What? The last one?
Yeah, the last one that was reported on there.
Yeah. I think it was like
mid-May. So not even up to date, you guys. Keep that in mind.
Yeah. But literally out of the 28, it was 16 Black trans women.
Jesus Christ.
That's like 57%.
Yeah, and we're not even done with the year.
Yeah. And then the second highest is Latina, Latinx trans women. And that was crazy. Like 21%.
Oh my god, that's like total over 75% of all the victims.
Yep.
Holy shit, dude.
It's just crazy.
That's so sad. That's why.
Or that's what I was gonna talk about too. When I was looking for a story, only like 2 main stories came up, and it was one trans woman from Greece.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
And then the other one, I forgot her name. I think it was Jenna Franks. I believe that was her name. But yeah, she was a trans woman, and I was like I was gonna talk about her just kind of to compare. But like, oh yeah, it was Jenna Franks. But literally, like police, literally like put out like a reward for any information, and I'm like, what about all these other women?
Yeah, I think for Shade they put like a $5,000 reward, and that was it.
Yeah.
And you hear about some of these rewards, and they're like insanely huge. I don't even know if police did it or if someone else offered up the reward, you know?
But still, it's like sketch. I could probably look it up, see how much they were.
Yeah, my third story actually is a trans girl who was white, and it was like jarring to see the difference and like media reports on her compared to Elisha and Shade. It's significantly different. I like talk about it too in my story.
Well, like this one
crazy.
Of Jenna Franks. I mean, she deserves to be talked about too, you know.
Of
but
course.
I'm just trying to like point out that like injustice.
That everyone should get the same amount of attention. Like everyone should get the same amount of light shed on their case as Jenna did.
Yeah.
Not like don't give her less. Give everyone else more.
FBI announced a $10,000 reward in the case, and I guess the Jacksonville police offered an additional $5,000.
Yeah, see, that's like not even close to this one.
Yeah, and that's supposed to. It's just so like sad and frustrating, like that they don't get the same attention.
Yeah, I know. I feel like a lot of people also think if you call cases like that out and be like, why didn't you give this much attention to the other people? They take it personally, being like, well, you don't want us to talk about Jenna. And it's like, no, we want you to talk about Jenna and everyone else.
Yeah, not just Jenna.
Yeah, talk about her and these other cases and give everyone the same amount of attention, because you can't just talk about like a few. That's why I chose Shade for my second story, because there's like barely information on her. And I was like trying to do like a bunch of like totally different stories. Yeah, it's really frustrating. That was a tangent. I'll go back to it. I think I talk a little bit about this more at the end of Shade's story. If not, I talk about it at the end of Nikki's. So we'll get back to this. Don't worry. So on July 29, 2015, Dallas police were called to a vacant field where the body of a deceased person had been found. Due to decomposition, they were unable to initially tell the race of the victim, but did reveal that they'd been wearing a blue and white cotton tube top with straps, blue shorts, and black Nike sandals. The person also had on a black wig, sunglasses, and fake nails with pink tips and what seemed to be diamonds on them. And the body was reported to be of a male. So already they're being like, I understand some men like dress and drag, some men like cross-dressing, but it's like, I don't know. There's got to be a better way, you know? I don't get it. But anyway, 4 tattoos were identified on the body. On the right shoulder, there was a heart with the name Willie in it, and either a hat or the letter D under it, which sounds weird, but I'm going to post a picture on Instagram and you'll be able to see it. Kind of does look like a hat or a D. You can't tell. It sounds weird to say that. The right shoulder also had a single dice. Then on the right thigh, there was a star and banner. And on the right calf was the name Shade. There's drawings of these that I'm going to post for everyone to see. Thankfully, it's not real pictures of them. That would be terrifying. But yeah. A week after finding Shade's body, police released information of her then unidentified remains to the public and revealed that she had died from a gunshot wound. 2 weeks after being found, the body was identified as belonging to Shade Schuler. Despite police, at the time at least, still referring to Shade as a male and he, him, it was confirmed by her friends in Dallas that she was indeed a trans woman. So she did have some friends at least, or people in the community who she knew. And despite her body being found nearly 6 years ago, this is all I could find on Shade's case. That's it. As far as I can tell, her case has gone totally cold and still remains unsolved to this day. Her family has never publicly spoken about her murder, except for one cousin who told The Guardian that he was worried Shade's death would stay unsolved, quote, just because of who she is. But to end this short story, I wanted to read a statement made by the Trans Pride Initiative in Dallas, which played a part in confirming that Shade was trans. So they said, her name was Miss Shade and she was only 22 years old. Our hearts and thoughts are with her family and friends who must now confront this unfortunate taking of life. May we find space in our hearts to celebrate her time with us and the lives she touched. May we find the inspiration in this loss to work together, trans and cis alike, to end the violence that's taken so many of our trans siblings from us far too soon. That is all I could find. I spent like an hour and a half trying to look into her and try to find more articles. I was like looking on Reddit. I was like just like anyone like posted on Facebook about her being like, oh, she was cool, she was my friend. I couldn't find anything. I know. And all the pictures of her too, it was back in the day, so they're like from MySpace. So some people used a couple of those, but some people also used, I guess, like she had a mugshot too. People were like doing that, and it's just annoying. And she was misgendered a lot. Looking into her, lots of gay man in women's clothing. Just stupid. And another weird thing about that is that doesn't necessarily even mean that they were gay if they're found in women's clothing. Could just be like a straight dude who wanted to wear it.
Yeah, true.
I was like, you're already making assumptions. Why not make the assumption that actually ends up being correct, that she was trans?
That's very true. There's actually a lot of straight men that like love to do drag.
Oh, I know,
like,
right?
They're married and stuff.
Yeah. I didn't think about that before, like, that they make the assumption that she's gay, but they don't want to make the assumption that she's trans. It's weird. I don't get it.
That's true.
Yeah, I think the most common theory is that someone found out that she was trans and felt like tricked or something and murdered her out of anger.
Yeah, I feel like that's the most common reason that trans people get killed. It's like they feel like, oh, what the fuck? Like, you didn't tell me type shit.
I've been bamboozled. I'm like,
yeah,
don't basically. Be fucking rude. I saw a comparison that I actually really liked because, you know, people are like, well, if I'm going to have sex with somebody, especially if they're like post-surgery or something, and they're like, well, I want to know like if they've had like bottom surgery or stuff or blah, blah, blah. And then it was like this cis woman just talking about how she's had a boob job and like she's never had a partner be like, you need to tell me if your boobs are fake or not. It's like, it's none of your business what people do with their surgery and their bodies,
it really
dude.
Isn't. That's like super
like, if you're
invasive.
so scared of it, yeah, just don't have sex then, loser. Stay a virgin, bitches.
Yeah.
It's really annoying. But yeah, that is it for Shade's story. It's like nothing, unfortunately.
Damn.
But if any of you happen to what happened to Shade, call somebody. that'd be really random but cool. If we could just get this solved real quick. Oh, that would be cool. Police say that they investigate just as much as any other case, but because she was found in like empty area and stuff, and no one came forward, there's just no way to find out what happened. And I was like, yeah, I feel like there must be a way. I don't know. If Law & Order SVU's team was on the case, it'd be solved. That's all I gotta say.
True.
Someone should call Mariska.
Olivia Benson.
Olivia, where are you? Come help. Okay. Yeah, you could say your story now.
All right.
I'm scared for your story, Brandy.
Yeah, let me give a warning. It is really fucked up.
Yeah.
Especially because we know what happened to her. Not like other cases. Like, we actually know almost everything that happened to her.
Oh.
Don't really know the order of everything, but just a warning that it's like pretty
graphic.
Yeah, it's graphic, fucked up.
Okay. Yeah, Brandy was texting me the other day like, yeah, it's real bad. It's gonna suck. And I was like, can't wait.
Yeah, no.
Oh no, okay.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Literally me reading those text messages. I was like, ah.
All right.
But I don't know anything that happens either.
Well, okay. You're all in this together.
We're all in this together. Everyone hold hands. We're in together.
All right. So, Gwen Araujo was born on February 24th, 1985 in Brawley, California. She was born to Edward Araujo Sr. and Sylvia Guerrero. Her parents divorced when she was only 10 months old. She came out as transgender in 1999 at the age of 14 and began using the name Gwen after her favorite musician, Gwen Stefani.
Hell yes, of course.
She also went by Wendy, and I think it's pronounced Lida or Lida. Okay. I think it's Lida.
All such different names, actually.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting, but I guess with certain people, she like went by different names,
like nicknames, basically.
Yeah, I think
you
so.
You know, I wanted to say real quick because you said she chose the name Gwen after like Gwen Stefani. I was like, so that means that there's likely trans women who like in the mid 2000s were like, oh, I'm gonna be called Hannah because my idol Hannah Montana. That's very true. I love that so much.
That's very true.
Hannah Montana trans women, hit us up. Be my friend.
Be my friend. That's funny. Or like Shakira.
Oh my god, there's definitely Shakira's. Come on.
Or Beyonce's. The Beyonce.
Oh my gosh. 100%.
But yeah. Her family fortunately was supportive, and she began to grow her hair long and planned to undergo hormone treatment and surgery. I mean, it did take them a while to like accept it fully, but they did eventually. At least her mom did.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
Her mom and her sisters actually, or her siblings. But yeah, I mean, she was just a very feminine like person,
a girly girl,
and she actually like got bullied in school because of it. Like before she started to like grow her hair out and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, she actually ended up dropping out of like school because the bullying was so bad.
How old was she when she dropped out?
It says junior high school.
Okay, so probably like 16, 17?
Yeah, that sounds about right because she dropped out a little bit before she was murdered.
Oh, so we're getting to it already. Jesus.
Yeah, we're getting there. But yeah, on October not blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was super girly girl. Like she loved like, makeup and all that.
Yeah.
On October 3rd, 2002, she went to a party and never came back home.
Fuck.
Which I guess was common. Like there was nights where she wouldn't like go home, but she would always check in with her mom.
Oh, like she'd go and spend the night at friends and be like, hey, I'm staying over. Okay.
Yeah, like she would at least check in with her mom and be like, oh, like this and this. So, yeah. Her mom didn't know where she was for days. Like,
fuck, that's scary.
I think I write later in my story how many days, but she did report her missing right away.
Mm-hmm.
Which her case like wasn't taken that seriously, and like there was no media reported until like they found her body.
Was she under 18 or was she like 18?
She was 17.
17? So they just like assumed she was a runaway or something?
Yeah. Or they just like didn't really take it seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
Like she's still legally a child. You guys can at least pretend to care.
Right? But yeah. So on October 3rd, 2002, Gwen attended a party at the house rented by Jose and Paul. Oh, I forgot I was going to look up how to pronounce their last name. I'm just going to say Morel.
Okay.
But yeah, at the party was Jose, who was 22. Paul, it doesn't say his age, but he was older. Their younger brother, Emmanuel. Michael Madgidson.
Love
he was 22. Jaron Neighbors, 19. Jason Carazes, 22. And Nicole Brown.
I'm also getting sketched out that all these like people in their early 20s invited a 17-year-old to a party. Already weird.
Well, I guess it was Nicole. Nicole, they were kind of acquaintances. They were like friends. Well,
You'll get to it?
Let me backtrack a little.
Oh, okay.
Gwen first met Michael, Jose, and Jaren and Jason in late August or early September 2002. So just like a few months prior.
Okay.
The night they met, Gwen flirted with all 4 men, and they all smoked some Mary Jane together. But yeah, they just kind of like, I guess she wasn't in the best crowd. They did like would just hang out and like smoke. Well, not that smoking's bad, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's. I get what you're going for.
Yeah.
That all stoners are going to hell, right?
No. Well, I mean, according to religion, I'm going to hell, regardless if I'm a stoner or not.
See you there.
But yeah, coincidentally, after she left, like after the first time they met her, Jason asked the guys, "Could this be a dude?" But none of them actually like took it seriously. But they kind of did have doubts already.
It's flashing me back to my story last week on Nerea Johnson, where they were like, "Is this a guy?"
Yeah, it's basically like that. She later engaged in oral sex with Michael and anal sex with Jose.
Okay. Wait, they're brothers?
No, Michael and Jose are not brothers. They were just friends. Jose and Paul were brothers,
and I was like, "Dang."
No, it was like 2 separate like times.
Oh,
but just like,
yeah.
You know, yeah.
They had as the articles always like to call it, a sexual encounter.
Yeah. And it was consensual.
Okay.
At least on her part.
I was like, technically,
what they try to argue,
rape, but
but yeah, I guess she would claim to be menstruating during sex, so like she wouldn't let them touch her.
Yeah. Clearly, they didn't have a problem with it in the moment.
Yeah, not until after.
Ugh.
But yeah, Nicole Brown, who I mentioned earlier, was actually dating Paul, which is Jose's older brother.
Oh, okay, that's where the brother was.
And yeah, and was acquainted with Gwen. Like they knew each other.
Okay.
I don't think they weren't like best friends or anything, but
yeah, they knew each other.
Yeah, I think they were the same age. I couldn't find her age anywhere, but I'm pretty sure like they went to school together right before she like dropped out.
That would make more sense because I'm like, who is inviting this 17-year-old if not another teenager? Right? Like, what the fuck are these like 22-year-olds doing here?
Mm-hmm. Nicole came out and said that they had actually engaged in a physical fight after Nicole challenged Gwen to strip for the men. Which, I don't know what friends you do that with, but okay.
Was she like, did she know that Gwen was trans?
No, but they all had their suspicions.
So she was doing it to be a cunt is what I'm asking.
Yes, basically.
Fucking bitch.
But yeah, they got into a physical fight, and she was actually like super surprised how strong like Gwen was during the fight. And Nicole said that the men were tripping because she was smaller than me, but just as strong. She fought like a guy. Quote, like that's literally what she said.
It's fucking stupid.
So I feel like that it just didn't help their suspicions.
Yeah, it just made it worse.
Yeah.
Assholes.
There's such thing as masculine women.
Yeah, exactly. And there's like small women who like look petite but have muscle or know how to fight.
Know how to kick your ass.
Yeah, like my older sister, she's definitely stronger than me and she is much, much smaller than me. I feel like she's fought before, that's for sure too. So she knows how to fight.
Well, that's like my mom. My mama's
really.
She's like 5 feet, and I'm like 4 inches taller than her.
Yeah.
Which it doesn't seem like much, but I am bigger than her.
It is.
And she, I mean, not only because she's my mom, but I'm still scared of her. Like, woman is feisty. She can fight too.
She can fuck someone up.
She's strong as fuck. Like, I'm scared. Yeah,
that's like her and one of my older sisters too. I'm like, they're tiny but strong.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
she's tough. But yeah, after that fight, I guess the four men debated whether Gwen was female or not, concluding that something bad would happen if she was not.
Why?
I
Why do
don't
you
know.
come to that conclusion? You can't just be like, oh, all right. If it bothers you that much, be like, oh, I don't really want to hang out with you.
Yeah, deadass. I don't know why they have to escalate it to fucking murder or like
Dude,
violence.
fuck those guys already, and I don't even know exactly what happened.
Well, it's about to get there.
Oh god.
So Jason later testified that night Jose said, "I swear, if it's a fucking man, I'm going to kill him. If it's a man, she ain't gonna leave." I just love how they use both pronouns.
I was like using the correct pronouns there as you were saying that. I'm like, think about what you're saying, dude. You're almost there.
No,
You're almost there. Just connect the dots. What a dipshit.
But yeah, I guess Michael then said, "I don't know what I'm going to do." Then Jaren said, "Whatever you do, make sure you don't make a mess."
What the fuck?
So Nicole said that night the four went out to a club together and didn't return until after midnight. In the early morning hours of October 4th, Michael asked Gwen to reveal herself or let him touch her, which she obviously refused because, like, no. The fuck, bro?
Even if he didn't have these suspicions, it'd be weird if someone was like, let me touch your pussy. I'd be like,
yeah,
no.
like, no, bitch, the fuck?
He'd be like, show it to me then. I'd be like, also, no? What? Who just says that while you're hanging out?
Yes. Fuck off. That's
Stupid
such a turn off.
Dude, I cannot imagine. I'd be like, no. And she must have been scared too, because she, I'm assuming, hadn't had like bottom surgery or anything. So that'd be terrifying.
Yep.
Oh.
But yeah, I would call Nicole the instigator. Because she suggested that one of them should inspect Gwen. So Michael then took Gwen to the bathroom.
What?
Mm-hmm.
What? You can't just inspect somebody. That's called assault, dipshits.
Well,
what the fuck?
That's what happened. So after like half an hour, Jose had confessed that he had sex with Gwen. Nicole went to the bathroom where she discovered Gwen had male parts during a forced inspection.
So she was supposedly sexually assaulted Gwen.
Yeah, basically.
There's no way to check somebody's genitals without sexually assaulting them, I feel like.
Yeah. I didn't really want to say it, but in like articles, they were talking about how actually that night was, they put it, how they put like that she bravely wore a miniskirt for the first time. Which I'm like, fuck, dude. It had to be that night too.
That makes me really sad. She's probably feeling herself, confident. I wish I could just go back in time and be like, they're not your friends. Don't go hang out with them.
Right?
Oh my god.
But yeah, Nicole had discovered, and she was supposedly surprised and blurted out, "It's a fucking man." The men who had sexual relations with her became enraged and violent. Nicole testified that she warned Gwen that the men were very angry as they walked out the front door. But upon exiting, Gwen was confronted and forced back inside by Michael, Jaren, and Jason.
Why didn't they just
Emmanuel? Why didn't they? Yeah, I don't get why they didn't just let her leave. Like, okay, I know you're mad, but fucking
just be like, you should go.
Shun her from your house, bro. Like,
yeah.
It's ridiculous. But Emmanuel Morel, Jose and Paul's younger brother, he testified that he also tried to escort Gwen away from the house, but was prevented by Michael and Jaren.
Whoa, he tried to help her?
So, yeah, he tried to help her, like, get out. But yeah, Jose actually vomited upon learning Gwen was anatomically male. Then began to cry. That is the most
dramatic thing. I threw up and started crying. Yes. I think we talked about this last week. Their fear which is not true, by the way, is that this makes them gay. And the thought of
Yes,
being gay made them throw up and cry.
That's exactly what happened. He threw up and started crying in disbelief, saying, and I quote, "I can't be fucking gay."
That's not how it works, idiot.
Well, that's just like goes back to how they don't understand it. Like, she's a woman. Just because she has male parts doesn't mean she's not a woman. Like, she's a woman.
Oh my god. If this didn't end in murder, I would just be laughing for days at the idea of someone throwing up and crying and saying, "I can't be gay." I'm like, that's not how it works.
It's just so ridiculous. Just like trans men, like, just because some of them have female parts doesn't make them not a man. They're a man.
Yes. It's so fucking that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
So frustrating.
Literally vomited. And I'm like, that's not how it works, you moron.
But yeah, Nicole said that she tried to comfort Jose after the discovery, basically trying to hype him up, I guess. She was like, "It's not your fault. I went to high school with you and you were on the football team. Any woman that knows you after this is not going to matter. Just let her go."
I have a lot of thoughts. First of all, fucking Nicole, you're the one who did it in the first place.
Right?
You're the one who did it in the first place. Now you're like, just let her go. It's fine. What? And second of all, you're not gay. You're on the football team. Just can't deal with it.
Yeah, because apparently there's no gay football players.
This literally sounds like it was written in a teen drama in the 90s. I'm like, where did you guys get all this information?
I mean,
oh my god. People are so uninformed, Randy. It's actually insane. How are people so dumb?
I don't know, bro. I don't know. But after Gwen was forced back inside, Michael grabbed at her skirt and underwear in an attempt to expose her body. He then proceeded to punch her in the face, knocking her to the ground and put her in a chokehold. But he was eventually pulled off by others. He just got really violent.
Oh my god, just let her leave. She's 17 and they're doing this.
Yes.
This is upsetting.
Gwen begged the men to stop, saying, "No, please don't. I have family." Jose became angry and struck her in the head with a can of food, denting the can and cutting open her head.
What the fuck? Mm-hmm.
He then struck her again with the frying pan, and the last word Jose heard Gwen say were, "I told you I was sorry."
That's devastating.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
At some point after that, Nicole went to wake up Paul, and they left the house with Emmanuel. Emmanuel later testified that he walked to a convenience store to buy gum and then went to a friend's house to spend the night. Jaren and Jason left in Michael's truck to retrieve shovels and a pickaxe from Jason's house.
Fuck.
As they left, they said the other men were going to kill that bitch.
So she wasn't even dead at this point? She's probably just unconscious?
Yeah, she was still, like, alive, but they were already, like, prepping.
If this isn't fucking premeditation, I don't know what is.
Right? Nicole later recalled that after she had left with Paul, they drove around the block and returned to the house to see Jaren and Jason leaving in Michael's truck. When Jaren and Jason returned, Gwen was still conscious, bleeding from her head wound, and sitting on the couch. Jose started freaking out and was worried that she was bleeding on the couch, so he ordered her off it. At some point after that, the assault resumed. According to Jaren, Jason and him urged the others to knock the bitch out. So then Michael then hit her head against the living room wall with his knee, rendering her unconscious.
Fuck.
Jaren testified that Michael's assault was so severe that it left a dent in the wall and cracked the plaster. Jason kicked her while Jose was concerned with cleaning Gwen's blood off the couch and carpet. before retreating.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say the reason she's probably sitting on the couch and stuff is that she was like in shock or had like a fucking concussion. And they're like screaming her to get. Oh, I wish that someone would have just been like, "We're getting you out of here," and one of them would have just like taken her to leave.
Yeah, I wish so too. It's just so sad.
Fuck.
But yeah, Jose was just concerned with cleaning the couch and carpet before retreating to his room so the others wouldn't see him crying. He was just still crying over it.
Dude.
But after Gwen was knocked unconscious, Michael bound her wrists and ankles, basically like hog-tied her.
Oh my god.
And then wrapped her in a comforter to minimize the amount of blood staining the carpet before they carried her into the garage.
Was she... Do you know if she was still alive at this point?
Mm-hmm. She was. But she was unconscious.
Okay, that's something at least.
After this point, the story's kind of like... They all say different things after this point.
They all start blaming each other, I'm sure.
Yeah, basically. Jaren testified that Michael strangled Gwen with a rope and that Jason hit her with a shovel. But he was returning from the garage and didn't actually witness the act of strangulation. He said that he saw Michael raising the rope to her neck before he left the garage, and that Michael later told the others that he had wrapped the rope around Lyda's neck and twisted it. And that he wasn't sure if she had died from twisting the rope, but once Jason hit her twice with the shovel, he knew she was dead. Michael testified that actually Jaren was the one who strangled her and struck her with the shovel. And Jason testified that he never struck her and did not see her die. Jose testified that he was cleaning Gwen's blood out of the carpets and couch as Michael was binding her ankles prior to her being taken to the garage. He also said he thought that she was still alive until he saw her body in the bed of Michael's truck.
Fuck. So we don't even know who did it. Like the final blows.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And we don't really... I mean, it is unclear the sequence of events of her death. Like, in what order it occurred.
Yeah.
But the autopsy did show that she died from strangulation associated with blunt force trauma to the head.
Fuck, dude. Not even one, both of the things.
Mm-hmm.
That's awful.
I mean, I feel like that first blow that Jose...
Against the wall?
That was already, yeah.
That probably was, like, already deadly, honestly. Just, like, slower.
Yeah.
Fuck.
But after they placed her in the bed of the truck, the four men drove her body 4 hours away, which was about 100 miles, from Newark, California to El Dorado National Forest in central Sierra Nevada mountain range.
Whoa. I've driven by there.
It's like, they drove, like, fucking far.
That's very far.
But yeah, they buried her in a shallow grave near Silver Fork Road in El Dorado County. On their way back home, they stopped and got breakfast at McDonald's drive-thru. I was just like, wow, bro.
How do you even have an appetite? You just
Seriously.
Murdered and buried someone. I wish that you were like, on their way home, they tragically got into a car accident and all died.
That'd be nice. But yeah, later that morning during a phone conversation, Nicole asked Jose what happened, to which he said, "Let's just say she had a long walk home."
Ew. Gross, dude.
But yeah, afterwards, they just tried to pretend like nothing happened. They all, like, tried to get rid of evidence and stuff. Didn't talk about it.
Okay.
But Sylvia...
That clearly didn't work.
Right? Sylvia, Gwen's mom, knew something was up because, like I said, she would always, like, check in even though she wouldn't always come home. So she called police on October 5th to report her missing. police didn't really take the missing persons case seriously, partly because she was transgender.
Stupid.
But rumors reached the family that a girl had been outed as transgender at a party and had been killed and buried in Tahoe.
How do those rumors even start? What?
You'll see, but...
Okay.
So it reached her aunt, and her aunt called police on October 9th to pass on the information. So police began to interview the partygoers, and one of them led them to the Morel's house. 2 days after Gwen was reported missing, a friend of Jaron neighbors described him as appearing distraught. Jaron had confessed to them what the four men did shortly after returning from the grave site. So he actually went to go tell a friend really fast, because he
immediately.
He felt guilty.
He shouldn't have even driven that 4 hours. Saved himself some time. Just fucking confess right then.
But I mean, he still didn't. It was actually the friend that tipped off police and agreed to wear a mic while he talked to Jaron.
Good for the friend, dude.
Yeah. Afterwards, police confronted Jaron with the recording, so he agreed to lead authorities.
I know, I was like, a little bit of an accent there.
He agreed to lead authorities to the body on October 15th. Then after that, Michael, Jaron, and Jose and Paul were initially arrested and accused of murder.
Whoa.
Paul was eventually released after Nicole and Emmanuel told police that they had all left the scene.
Ugh.
So it was just Michael, Jaron, and Jose that were charged for murder on October 17th and held without bail. But if you recall, there was one more.
I was like, I thought there was 4.
Yeah, there was. So Jaron wrote a letter to his girlfriend in which he stated the defendants had discussed a soprano-type plan.
What?
To kill that bitch and get rid of her body.
Fuck.
The letter was intercepted by police and led to the arrest of Jason on November 19th. Because he actually wrote their names down, I'm guessing.
And a handwritten letter being like, and then Jason. I'm like,
yeah.
What?
And I guess Jason was like a... What was it called? They were interested...
Suspicious person?
Not suspicious, but like a witness. Yeah, witness.
Okay.
A possible witness, just something like that. I forgot the term. I should have wrote it down.
Yeah, it's all good.
But yeah, Jaron Chase neighbors pleaded guilty on February 24th, 2003 to the lesser charge of voluntary manslaughter in exchange for testifying against the other 3 men.
Whoa.
He received an 11-year sentence on August 25th, 2006, and was actually released sometime before 2016.
That's not very long.
Yeah, no. Well, he was the youngest one. He was 19. He's the one that confessed right away and...
Actually felt guilty, it seemed.
Yeah. Okay. He actually felt guilty and...
I guess.
Showed a lot of remorse.
Okay, good.
In the case of Michael, Jose, and Jason, it gets kind of messy.
Oh.
Their first trial began on April 14th, 2004. And the defense basically tried to use the gay panic defense.
Oh, I fucking knew it, dude.
Yep. That they were forced into homosexual sex through deception. And they also dead-named Gwen and used the wrong pronouns. Like the defense and the prosecution. Everyone.
So even her side, basically.
Yeah.
Didn't that happen in another story we said recently? They were like dead-naming. It might have been Nyrea Johnson's. Where they're just like, they were just a gay man. And I'm like, no, they weren't. They weren't, though.
Yeah. But yeah, it ended in a mistrial on June 22nd after 9 days of deliberation. Jurors were unable to reach a unanimous decision.
Ew, terrifying that there were jurors there that were like, I would murder them too. It makes sense.
No, well, it wasn't so much that. It's just they couldn't decide like if it was manslaughter or like first degree, like premeditated.
Yeah.
And they like didn't all agree on each like person.
I feel like the part where you said as soon as they went and decided to go grab shovels before she was dead, then it becomes premeditated.
Right?
Yeah. That changes everything.
But the final votes of the first trial was 10 to 2 in favor of acquitting Merle or Jose and Jason of first degree murder.
Oh my
and
god.
7 to 5 in favor of convicting Michael of first degree murder.
So 10 people wanted to acquit the other ones?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. That's terrifying.
Well, yeah, just because I couldn't agree that it was like first degree murder.
I'm glad that those two stood strong and were like, we're not changing our votes and acquitting them.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, on a positive note, the day after the first trial ended, Sylvia Guerrero requested a posthumous name change, which was granted.
Oh, that's good.
So yeah, on June 23rd, 2004, her legal name became Gwen Amber Rose Araujo. Her mom actually added Amber Rose because that was the name she would have chosen if she knew like her next kid was gonna be a girl.
Oh,
so I was like, damn,
that's fucking sad.
Don't cry.
What the fuck?
But yeah, that was like a nice because now everyone had to refer to her by the correct pronouns.
Good. Oh my gosh.
Like, name, so like they had to respect it now.
Good. They're forced to legally.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, so Michael and Jose and Jason were charged with first degree murder with hate crime enhancements.
Good.
In this trial, they all testified and basically were pointing fingers at each other.
Of course.
After a week of deliberation, the jury announced its verdict on September 12th.
Okay.
They had deadlocked on Jason 9 to 3 in favor of convicting him, causing another mistrial for him.
Jesus.
But Michael William Magdiston and Jose Antonio Morel were both convicted of second-degree murder, but without the hate crime enhancement.
Oh.
They were both sentenced to 15 years in prison in January of 2005. Jose actually expressed deep sorrow and regret, while Michael was angry about his verdict and expressed no remorse.
They should have done first degree for him. Also, I'm surprised that they didn't do the hate crime, because to me, that part, there's no question. Obviously, they were literally even saying, she's a dude, we have to kill her. Like, what part of that's not a hate crime?
I don't know, man.
It's like they were planning it and said, let's commit a hate crime. And the jury's like, we don't know.
Well, I guess what they argued and why they didn't get the hate crime was because they said they didn't kill her because she was transgender. They did it to cover up a situation that had gotten out of control.
The situation that got out of control was that they beat her ass for being trans, though.
Yeah, they basically... yeah, I don't know.
That's ridiculous. I can't believe that actually worked for them.
I know. But Jose was actually granted parole in 2016 with the support of Sylvia, Gwen's mom.
Whoa, because he actually regrets it.
Yeah, he actually regrets it, and I think he apologized and all that, and Michael didn't. And he was actually seen as the main culprit. He's the one that actually took her life away.
And as you were saying it, I was like, he's the real bad one out of the group. They're all pretty bad, don't get me wrong.
Yeah. But he was denied parole in 2016 and again in September 2019. So I was like, wow. Cool. And in the case of Jason Cesares, he ended up pleading no contest to manslaughter on December 16, 2005. He was sentenced to 6 years in prison.
Whoa.
And he was released in July 2012.
Jeez.
On the first anniversary of the murder, Horizons Foundation created the Gwen Araujo's Memorial Fund for Transgender Education. The purpose was to support school-based programs in the Bay Area that promote understanding of transgender people and issues.
Thank
Through
God.
this fund, I know, I was like, that's awesome. Through this fund, Sylvia Guerrero and her family spoke in many schools. By 2005, she had spoken to more than 20 schools.
Wow.
Also, in honor and memory of Gwen, the Gwen Araujo Justice for Victims Act, AB 1160, was signed into law September 28, 2006 by California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Wow. It's always the Terminator had to do it to him.
But yeah, it was the nation's first law to address the use of panic strategies, meaning defendants can't use the societal bias against their victim in order to decrease their own culpability for a crime.
Fuck yeah, that's what we like to hear.
Uh-huh. And just the last thing I wanted to talk about was a Lifetime movie that they came out with about her story.
Okay.
It's called A Girl Like Me, the Gwen Araujo story. It came out in June 2006. And I really wanted to watch it, but I literally couldn't find it anywhere. Not even YouTube.
It's Lifetime. They put out like 30 movies a week. It's hard to find anything.
True. But like you can't like watch it. Like it's not on anything.
It's called A Girl Like Me?
Yeah, A Girl Like Me, the Gwen God damn it, I forgot how to say her name already.
I'll try to look it up too. If I find it, I'll send it to you.
Araujo. The Gwen Araujo story.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look it up as well. I would like to add that Nicole should have been charged with something.
I agree too.
Like assault or something at least for like.
I mean, can you really charge? Can you really charge an instigator though? Well, she's not the one that. She didn't do anything though. It was Michael that did it.
I thought you said she went to the bathroom and like checked to see.
Well, Gwen. No, she discovered because Michael was the one that did it, but she was there when it happened.
Oh, can we just charge her for being an asshole?
Wouldn't that be nice?
Add extra charges for all of them for being a dick. That's depressing. I didn't know that. I feel like I've heard of parts of that story, but never the whole thing, and I didn't know that was in California.
Yep. That's
scary. All right, well, I'll move on to my last story. I probably could have just done two. I didn't realize yours was going to be so long, Brandy.
I know.
All right, it'll be a longer episode. That's fine. So, for my last story, I'm going to talk about Nikki Kuhnhausen, whose name I did not look up how to pronounce. Again, it sounded fine in my head. So, Nikki was born on July 6, 2001, and lived in Vancouver, Washington. As a young child, Nikki began to show signs that her gender may not fit with the one assigned to her at birth. In one picture from when she was around 5, Nikki is seen wearing a long blonde wig she'd found at her mom's friend's house, and another she's grinning while holding up her arm, which had a bright pink cast on it. Nikki's parents split up when she was pretty young, but thankfully they were actually very supportive of her, and they agreed to let her play around with makeup and dress up as princesses if she wanted to, and just kind of do whatever she wanted with gender, basically. They never tried to... It was super cool. And they never tried to like redirect her into more typically masculine interest. They just let Nikki be interested in whatever she was interested in. They received some criticism from conservative relatives saying that Nikki was going to turn into a girl. But her mom, Lisa, would brush them off and say, "I'm not turning her into anything. She's choosing this, and I don't see anything wrong with that." In elementary school, Nikki presented as a boy and competed in track where she won medals for running hurdles. When she went to middle school, her mom would buy her clothes from the girls section of department stores, and she began to start publicly presenting as a girl. One friend said she started off slowly. At first, she would still wear boy clothes. I guess 8th grade year is when she really started transitioning and changing. But she didn't really change. She was always more girly, more feminine. She also began to wear her hair long and started to show some real talent at putting on makeup. Nikki didn't talk too much about being trans, and even her mom said, to be honest, the word transgender never even entered our house because it was just Nikki. But she would still answer questions any kids sent her way. She wasn't hiding the fact that she was trans at all. When she became a teenager, she started to express an interest in makeup and fashion, dreaming of becoming a makeup artist or designer for celebrities like Nicki Minaj, who was her favorite rapper. Literally me as a teenager. Her mom even had to stop buying her expensive clothes because she knew that Nikki was just going to cut them up to make them more distressed and like fashion-y anyway. Nikki was one of a handful of trans kids at her high school, and she was not afraid to stand up for herself or her peers. Several times in school, she got in trouble for getting into fights with other students who picked on her or her friends. Her mom recounted one story where Nikki, who was a sophomore at this time, saw a younger trans student crying outside the women's bathroom because they'd been kicked out. Nikki demanded the names of the kids who kicked them out and went to confront all the bullies, who she made apologize to the crying kid. And they never bothered the other kid again.
That's awesome.
I know, right? Nikki was described as having a deep love of other people from all walks of life. One friend from the local homeless community said that Nikki's support played a big role in her stopping her heroin use and getting her life back together. She was always kind and generous, going downtown to make sure that everyone had food and water too. She knew how to have fun as well. On multiple occasions, she was known to play basketball with her brothers while wearing her mom's high heels. And another time, while babysitting her little sister, the two went to clean the kitchen, as instructed by their mom, but ended up just making a big mess of water on the floor. Rather than immediately cleaning up, she told her sister to go put on a swimsuit, and the two used the kitchen floor as a slip and slide until their parents came home. Honestly, my parents would be fucking pissed if I did that.
Yeah, mine too.
They're like, what the fuck? That sounds sick.
Clean this shit up.
All right. As a teenager, Nikki spent a majority of her time living at her dad's house as her mom was struggling to treat her own mental illnesses. Eventually, she began to spend most of her time at different friends' houses. Even though her mom says she wasn't always there to support Nikki the way she wanted, the two still shared a really close bond and would talk in the mornings before Lisa went to her shift as a cashier at Walmart. I don't remember if I said her mom's name's Lisa. I say her mom's name more. On June 6, 2019, Nikki had a phone call scheduled with her mom, but she didn't answer. Immediately, Lisa became worried and messaged her daughter on Facebook. Over the next few days, she grew more and more concerned as she saw that the messages weren't getting responses or even being marked as seen. Nikki's older brother also started to get worried, as she'd usually call every other day to check on her 2-year-old niece who she was close to. On June 10th, Lisa went to the police and reported Nikki as missing. I couldn't find anything about her dad, so I think her mom really led the charge here. I don't know. Because I know her dad was supportive of her and stuff, but I didn't really see any mentions of, like, where he was during all of this. So I guess she did spend the night at her friend's house a lot, so maybe that's why. The night of June 5th, the day before the missed phone call, Nikki had been to a friend's house to spend the night. She didn't have her cell phone at the time, so she used her friends to get on her Snapchat and talk with an unknown older Russian man. That night, Nikki left her friend's house to meet up with this man, but came back before 5 a.m. wearing a man's coat and carrying a bottle of vodka. She then left again soon after to meet up with him again, telling her friend that he was going to help her get to her cell phone. I think the cell phone might have been at a different friend's house. But this time, Nikki didn't make it back. Thanks to Snapchat records, police were pointed to a 25-year-old man named David Bogdanov. It's a Russian name, so probably not correct the way I'm saying that. In late June, investigators were trying to get in contact with David and reached out to two of his brothers who lived in Vancouver. Neither of them knew anything about his reported encounter with Nikki, but one did give police an updated phone number to reach David. They called this number multiple times, but David never answered. It wasn't until September that he finally got back to investigators. And I don't know if it's true, but I read one thing that said he got back to them through Snapchat. So I don't know if they're like fucking catfishing him, pretending to be someone and being like, hey, Snapchat me. And being like, this is the police, idiot. In October, now 4 months after they first started to contact him, police had their first interview with David. In the interview, he told them his version of what happened on the night that Nikki went missing. He claims that he met Nikki on the night of June 5th after seeing her on Main Street in Vancouver, where he asked her to join him and his brothers at a bar. I don't know if she assumed or declined this offer, but the two later that night at some point began to talk on Snapchat, where they exchanged addresses. That night, David admits that he went to go pick up Nikki in his van, saying that he was going to take her to a friend so she could get her cell phone. But first, they drove to outside of his brother's house. I don't know why, I didn't say why. But while they were like sitting in the van, like outside the house, they were just like sitting and chatting. And she casually mentioned to him how she was trans, which left David really, really disturbed. He explained to police how in Russian culture, being gay was absolutely unacceptable. So he was shocked and uncomfortable, and he denied having any sexual contact with Nikki. He then claims that he asked Nikki to leave his car, and the last he saw of her was her walking away from his van. And then he went straight to work, despite the fact that he'd been drinking that night. And if anything, drinking and driving, David.
Sus.
Very. So on December 7th, 2019, a hiker was near a large mountain in Oregon when they found a skull. Police were notified, and other bones as well as clothing and jewelry were found. It was determined that these remains belonged to Nikki, who at this point had been missing for 6 months. She was just 17 at the time of her death. Lisa remembers the day that she found out. That morning, she'd actually been making like homemade Christmas cards, including one for her missing daughter, as she was so sure that she was going to be coming home. When she saw the detectives through the window by her front door, she just dropped to the ground and began to cry because she knew that they were there to tell her that Nikki was dead. An autopsy was later performed, and it was determined that she had died of strangulation, as along with the remains was a set of hair extensions that had what appeared to be a ligature attached to it. So, if you remember David's story, he said that Nikki left his car unharmed and he went promptly to work. Well, as it turns out, cell phone records did not support this story. According to these, just a few hours after he was in Vancouver, his location pinged in the area of Larch Mountain, aka the place where Nikki's remains were found. It was also found that night he had called an adult video store and several female escort ads, which pretty heavily implied that he was looking to hook up with someone that night, something he did not mention in the interview at all. Yeah. These two pieces of evidence pointed to a much darker story than the one he told. Police believe that David had picked up Nikki with the intention to have sex with her, and potentially did have a sexual encounter before finding out that she was trans. They theorize that he then became so angry he strangled Nikki to death, and they believe that after killing the teenager, he drove to Larch Mountain and disposed of her body on a steep, densely wooded embankment off the side of the road. 10 days after Nikki's remains were found, David was arrested and charged with second-degree murder as a hate crime. In late December, David attended a hearing where he pled not guilty to the murder. At the hearing, Lisa was able to read a statement saying, Nikki Kuhnhausen had so much potential. She will never graduate from high school, feel the sun on her face, or celebrate her 18th birthday. We live with this every day. Despite all the evidence against him, David's bail was set to only $750,000. And I thought this was a lot, but apparently not. Like, people were audibly gasping in the courtroom when this amount was read, as I guess it's normal for it to sometimes be set like in the millions in that area. And Lisa's, I didn't know that. But in Lisa's own words, she said, I feel like the justice system just failed my baby one more time. It's like her being murdered all over again. In March of 2020, his bail was increased to $2 million when it was discovered that on the day of Nikki's death, he'd bought a one-way ticket to Ukraine and was therefore a flight risk. So, thankfully, he wasn't even able to pay the $750K, because if he did, he'd probably be in the fucking Ukraine right now.
Damn.
Like, Jesus. While most of the articles I read on the case say that the trial was supposed to be held in July 2020, I'm assuming that COVID delayed this because I couldn't see him, like, the results from it or anything. And the most recent article I found said that's scheduled now for July of 2021. So hopefully it'll be next month for anyone listening to this as it goes out.
Damn.
That was, like, literally only one article I saw that mentioned this year. So I'm very uncertain about that. But as for the family of Nikki, they have been doing their best to honor the 17-year-old's memory. her mom, Lisa, helped pass a bill known as the Nikki Kuhnhausen Act, which removes the ability for a defendant to claim diminished capacity after learning about a victim's gender identity. So basically, she also, like in your story, helped ban the LGBTQ plus panic defense in Washington.
That's cool.
Yeah, which I don't know if we actually explained a second ago, but it's a legal strategy that we spoke a lot more last year in our Pride episode in Black Trans Lives Matter, if you guys want to go listen to that. But it's bullshit, basically, to sum it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, overall, like I've kind of mentioned this earlier, while I was so glad I was able to find so much information on Nikki and her case, it was so fucking disappointing to see the difference in coverage for her compared to that of Elisha and Shade, who were both Black. And I think that was because Nikki, I mean, she at least looked white. I'm pretty sure she was. No one even specified either. Yeah, that is my story on Nikki. And as you could see, I was able to find a lot more about who she was as a person and stuff compared to Shade, where I'm like, I don't know anything about her personality.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, so do better, media. Like, I'm talking to you. Media. I don't even know who exactly.
Get it together.
Get it together. Go talk to family and friends. Write about them more. I was going to say, I don't think I did in the recording. I just said to Brandy before, but specifically Shade's story, because I think I said like how I don't even know if she was like reported as missing, but I found her in my research because she was mentioned in articles along with other women who had been missing and then found dead, like Elisha. I think that they were mentioned in the same article, but Shade like never even got her own article, dude. Like every time that you'd read about her, it would just be like a paragraph or two, and then they would just talk about the problem of violence against transgender people, which is good that like bringing awareness to that, but I'm like, they barely even mention her in her own articles. It's like really sad. But yeah, this was our third of our 4 Pride episodes this month. Happy Pride. Yeah,
don't be Juneteenth.
Oh yeah, happy Juneteenth too. There's a lot going on this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, if any of you would like to email us, you can at thespookyshit.pod@gmail.com. Our Twitter and Instagram are spookyshit_pod, and our website is spookyshit-pod.com. Please, please, please leave us reviews on Apple Podcasts and check out our merch. I've been meaning to go and like make another shirt that you said something before, Brandy, that was like, oh shit, like, it's getting spooky or something.
Oh shit, let's get spooky.
Yeah, that I need to go and make that into a shirt too. I'm not very creative, so I don't know what the design would look like. But I'll do it soon, and I'll send you some ideas, and maybe we'll get that going.
Coolio.
Yeah. But yeah, happy Pride, everyone. Happy Juneteenth. I hope you're all having a great Pride month, other than our sad stories.
Yeah.
Anything else to add, Brandy? Don't be transphobic.
Yeah, don't be homophobic. Don't be a
any
Hobic.
Hobics, really. What did you say? A Hobic?
Yeah, don't be a Hobic.
Don't be a Hobic, everyone. Okay, and I guess we'll talk to you all next week. Goodbye.
Bye.